What's up, boys? So this is our first podcast that we've officially done with two people on one side of the lens.
Let's go.
To my right, I have Dimitri Gripari, my British writing partner, friend of dear Stu Andrews of London Town. And you guys have never officially met. Yeah.
First time.
Yeah, man. It's good to finally meet you.
And you?
Heard so much. We've talked about you a bunch. I think it's great.
Yeah, we're gonna have the same convo with you that we do with all of our friends that come on the podcast that haven't heard it or seen it or anything. Which is that it's understandable. It's sometimes the closest people to you that you take for granted.
You haven't listened to every pod. Are you kidding me?
I know, yeah. You're not a loyal follower.
That's a prerequisite to coming on.
Yeah, to being on it. Our last guest, the Academy Award-winning documentarian, he's listened.
Has he listened?
Yeah, everyone. He said everyone.
Yeah, that's
Right?
bullshit. Intro your friend. I want to get. Let's get the formal introduction, and then we can get into how you guys met and all that kind of stuff.
I'll do the formal intro. So Dimitri and I met because I was in England at the time, and I went to Bristol Old Vic Theatre School with Stu, our mutual friend. And when I met Dimitri, we were just like partying in London and stuff, but he was an actor at the time at Royal Conservatory of Scotland, which is also like an incredibly historic, amazing school, blah, 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 blah. And then it was like a little bit after that our buddy Stu, I told him that I wanted to make a show or a movie or something about like the acting scene in England, my time there, that is funny about these, thespians that when you met them, you thought they were going to be stuffy theater nerds, and they turned out to be like rugby playing, like freaking degenerates. And Dimitri being one of those, as all my friends are. Player. No. Cricket player.
No, none.
No. Skydiver. No, kidding. But anyway, so we linked up and we've been in the process of making this for a couple years now. But and Dimitri's like worked as an actor the last couple years too. Comes from a musical theater background. Hilariously enough, I never knew anyone that did musical theater in the States growing up. Now I kind of have grown to appreciate music, like especially musical comedy. But and he just did this. I always mix it up, not Les Mis, but what's the French show in England? Dangerous Liaisons, which I've seen the play in New York with Liev Schreiber and Janet McTeer. But he just did a couple episodes on the show.
3 out of the 8, yeah.
3 out of the 8 episodes. Where'd you film?
We filmed it in Prague, but it was for Lionsgate and Stars.
Yeah, no, it's cool. A huge thing. Yeah, I'm super jealous and I want to hear more about it. But anyway, that is the long-winded intro.
Incredible.
Do you want to say what you thought when we linked up and stuff about
what, when we first started writing the show, or when we first met?
What you thought about me being in England? Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
yeah.
I think the first proper time that I remember meeting you, aside from in Bristol on like a night out, was when you came to London, and you, Stu, and I went to a rooftop bar in Trafalgar Square.
I remember that too. Yeah.
And you kept on asking me questions about like the history of London. And we literally sat there for like an hour and a half, me being like, that's St. Paul's Cathedral, that's the London Eye.
We were right next to all that stuff.
Yeah. But it was like, that was the kind of first overriding memory. And then you came back independent, or you were with your brother, I think.
Yeah.
And I saw you at pub.
Yep.
And then I didn't really see you for a while until I came here.
But we were already talking, I think, when I met you at the cafe about writing together and stuff.
Well, sort of, yeah. You had kind of told me briefly about the idea of the show and what you wanted from it. And then it didn't really come into fruition until I was here in 2020. I was out visiting my sister, and then COVID happened, and I ended up spending 3 months here in Studio City. And you called me up like 3 days after COVID happened, and were like, do you want to take another stab at it? And so we basically we took the script that you had done, which I think wasn't actually, like, it was only like 15 pages or something.
Yeah.
And we kind of used that as a springboard to jump off and then kind of see where we went. And I think by the end of that 3 months, we had a proper script in front of us that, looking back now, was actually not very good. But
I think it's better than the one now.
I disagree strongly.
No. Agree to disagree. No, I'm kidding.
But it's that's kind of how it started, because also when the whole world was shut down, that kind of gave us something to do, and I don't think we really expected it to.
It was a great learning experience.
It was, but it was also kind of, it made you get out of bed. And it gave you something to actually like put your focus into when everybody else was just doing nothing.
It was nice.
Like when the world was doing nothing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice to be able to have that creative outlet, because obviously none of us were acting.
Felt very innovative.
Yeah, and I think it also started very much as like a thing where we wanted to write something that we could be in, and something that we were familiar with. And so that's kind of where it was born from. And then it kind of snowballed and grew legs a little bit, and now we're here.
I way more prefer the process of writing with someone as opposed to just being on your own, hitting your head against the fucking keyboard. Like actually being able to bounce ideas off of each other is, to me, one of the most collaborative, creative things you can do. So it sounds like it's been a success, because sometimes you do work with someone and it's like, you're just kind of butting heads the entire time. But when you find that creative partner, you can really, come up with a better result.
I agree. I think what was really beneficial for us is that it started when we were in the same country. It started when we were on the same time zone, so we could both wake up at the same time and write at the same time and go to bed at the same time. And so we had that foundation to build on. Because then once I flew back to the UK and Duke stayed here, it kind of meant that like either I was writing and then sending whatever I had done and he would read it and make notes, or it was vice versa. So to have that base to build on was really useful, because we knew how to work together when we were together, so that when we weren't together, we kind of knew what we were aiming for, if that makes any sense.
For sure. It's like a long-term relationship. It's usually better if it starts off, you're in the same spot, as opposed to let's start something,
No, I agree. And actually, like it now, because I mean, this is the first time I've been back to LA since COVID, so since 2020,
right?
That it's been through sort of, I don't know, like 100 different versions of the script.
Yeah.
Be it like small changes or big changes or whatever it is. Like there was one point where we did a complete rewrite. Yeah. Where we both kind of realized that we'd hit a bit of a wall and it needed a bit of a change. And
that was
last year.
Okay.
That was last year. And we did like a huge complete rewrite, changed the whole story, got rid of characters. Yeah. Added new characters, and now I think it's in a better place.
No, of course,
than what it was before, and we wouldn't have been able to do that had it just been over a computer screen or through a computer screen. It's having that basis of that relationship to be able to know what works and what doesn't work, and also to give us the freedom, I think, for me to be able to, without asking, change something and trust that you'll like it, and vice versa. Do you know what I mean? Like for me to be able to write a scene and be like, fuck it, I know we haven't discussed it, but I trust the relationship 100% enough for it to make sense.
We had some of the best things especially when we were putting together like the basic foundation of the whole script, that first like rendition, and we genuinely came up with stuff where we had tasks and we would come back, someone would come back and say like, what do you think about this? We had our own writer's room. We were like pitching ideas. And a lot of times shit would get like shot down or whatever, but no bad idea. We did work really well together. And so it's like, and then after that, you have that trust, and there's been so many new things that come together. And I've always liked what you do in one way or another. And you workshop it and see where it goes. And a lot of table reads. Table reads are like the funnest things ever.
That was a big step in the right direction, because I think we found that it had got a bit stale in terms of like we'd rewritten so many times that it was just getting to the point where we were rewriting for the sake of rewriting rather than changing anything like beneficial. Right. And so the table reads were really useful because we actually got other people's opinions and actually got to hear what it sounded like off the page.
Yeah, that was big.
And it was also a learning curve for us in the respect that like we kind of learned who to listen to and who not to listen to, and what opinions we agreed with and which ones to leave by the wayside.
And it's, dude, when you're doing a table read and you see that these parts, we're going to do them and stuff, it's like very exciting.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely, we still like love the show. Like, I want to freaking see this thing.
And the feedback's been really good as well. And like we've been very lucky with the people that have helped us out with the read-throughs, have all been hugely complimentary and also very good actors in their own right. So for them to be able to like lift it off the page, so to speak, was
it's fun.
Super helpful.
I still think the idea of this British show of drama schools being so elusive
too much about it.
So I always make fun of people that honestly come on the podcast, or Jacob. I make fun of Jacob too. Be like, I don't know if I want to say too much, but now we're gonna be one of those people because run by the partner here. But no, yeah, just this idea is so
I'm pretty sure we already got like the entire plot on one of these podcasts.
Oh, good.
No. Yeah. Good thing
we're very transparent over here. But I'm curious, where are you at in the process? Is this like a pilot? How many pages? Do you have like a Bible? Like, what's kind of the approach?
So I think our initial script was something like 35, 40 pages. And we realized that we were in that sort of weird purgatory where it wasn't long enough or it wasn't short enough. It was kind of in that weird mid zone. And so we realized that we either needed to like severely cut it down or really like beef it up. So we decided to cut it down and make it one of those sort of 20, 25 minute episodic things.
Half-hour comedy without commercials.
Yeah, exactly. Like ideally on a streaming service. And so the idea behind it was that we have a really strong, or we think is a really strong pilot with a really strong through line and an idea of where it could go. So we wrote the pilot and we basically made sure that the pilot was airtight. And then we, quite a while ago, made a sort of 10, 11 page literal Word document just about like who the characters are, where we see them going, yada yada. But it was
super dense,
like super dense. Yeah. Not something that
not
we
a
would ever send
presentation.
down, but something for us to be able to map it out. And then we realized that we actually needed to make a proper pitch deck. So I did that last or 2 weeks ago and made a 30-page. I say 30 pages. Most of it is like pictures, but
it's good.
We made a 30-page sort of treatment Bible, if you like, kind of weirdly based on like Duke had sent me the Stranger Things Bible.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's a fucking awesome Bible. And then also you can find pitch decks from all of these shows like Lost and New Girl and all of, so I basically kind of just pulled 5 or 6 different pitch decks, mixed and matched and pulled things that I liked and left things that I didn't, and kind of and also you have to put your own personal spin on it and make it relative to what you're writing, so our show is about
creative
and because like it's, I think the important thing about these pitch decks is that okay, fine, they've got to show what about the show, but they've also got to show your like personality about who you are as writers and why it's important that it's you doing it rather than anybody else.
It's a package that they're taking in your stile, your vision, and everything. It's a visual.
I mean, the concept of our show is it's set in an English drama school, and so I decided to make the pitch deck like a university prospectus, like you would get as a new student, but obviously fuck it up and make it funny and change things. And what's that?
Oh, they're after us, the coppers.
Oh, they're
paramedics.
Where'd you get your pictures for the deck?
Okay. So this is a trick that I learned. It's fucking awesome. Somebody taught this to me in London. So there's a website called Shot Deck.
That's the one, man. Brilliant.
And then the other one, let me get my laptop out. The other one that's also really good is called Shot Cafe. Because Shot Deck doesn't really do TV shows. It's basically mainly movies. And then I made the actual pitch deck on a website called Canva, which is,
I know Canva.
Yeah, which is actually kind of like it's corporate PowerPoint basically. Yeah. But you can like steal templates and create a thing. But the other thing that I realized that saved me was that you can put an already made PDF into Canva, and then it'll copy the layout of that PDF, and then you can just change things as appropriate. So I basically got like 5 or 6 different prospectuses from random universities, threw it into the thing, and then changed what I needed to change. And
I haven't heard that until now.
It's good to know. Yeah, it was a fucking lifesaver rather than me spending 8 hours a day on like Word or PowerPoint.
And in regards to like career wise, where we're at with the show, we've had
that was the question. Sorry.
right. No, that was like literally where we're at with the whole package and everything. We've had very interesting aspects. Like we've had 2 producers that were on it that were nice and lovely, but
it didn't work out, and that was fine.
Yeah,
but I think no. I mean, listen, it's not about that. It's more about just kind of making sure that you have the right people, in my opinion.
it's got to be the right fit.
It's got to be the right fit, but also, like, I mean, they were great.
Yeah.
They were super nice. It just wasn't the right fit.
No,
I think it's really important to have people who are interested in the project and believe in the project and can put you in touch with people that they think would also be interested and believe in.
Yes.
And so now at that stage,
we got meetings set up.
We've got meetings set up, and we're gonna send it around to people that we hope believe in it. And also, like, it's also about us as people, I think, rather than also like what we've written on the page. I think they've got to believe in us as much as they've got to believe in the show.
Yeah, we did a video presentation on the last one too.
We did do a video presentation on the last one, which actually we should probably dig out.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
But that's kind of where we're at. Is just kind of sending it around, seeing who can bite. Because also, like, that's one big learning curve for me, is that how things work here compared to how things work in the UK. And obviously, I'm first and foremost an actor, rather than a writer. So I'm going into this kind of blind. So that's been a big learning curve in terms of like how the Americans deal with that sort of thing compared to how the Brits.
Can you enlighten us on some of those differences?
Well, I mean, the thing is that I don't really know yet, because we're still at that sort of infancy stage. I will come back on this podcast when I have an answer, when I have an answer to give you. But like, it's cool, it's interesting, and actually it's hopefully going to serve us both well in the future on any other projects that we do, because we'll have, well, not even career-wise, but just in terms of like, you know, advice, and if we do another project, we'll kind of know how to to tackle it.
Yeah.
Have you guys identified each other's strengths when it comes to writing and working together? Because I love working with my writing partner, but clearly, like, there are things that each of us excels at. I usually am better with like visuals and spectacle and horror imagery. That's usually what I do. I'm a horror filmmaker. And then my writing partner is much more adept at, you know, plot structure and character and like the essential nuts and bolts of things.
Well, may I go first? That's very good.
Go.
I initially give Dimitri so much respect in that you're very I don't want to say traditional, but you're professional. You just know how to get things moving forward. You're also a good leader. He's like a good, like, gets things going. And I think character development, the technical stuff, that is like second to none for you. And whereas and when it came to like jokes and finding what makes a great moment and something that cracks and stuff, comes up with that too. But we also had a lot of good times doing that together and having.
Well, I was going to say, I think in terms of like the jokes, we're obviously writing stuff that we think is funny, rather than what we think other people are going to find funny. And I think so long as we find it funny, we're kind of okay.
Sorry,
as a start, like, I know for sure at the beginning when we started writing, in terms of like strengths and weaknesses, what was great is that we were very good about telling each other what worked and what didn't work, and there was no sort of grudges held, you know. It's so if like Duke came to me with a joke that wasn't funny, he would accept that it wasn't funny, and vice versa.
Pretty good about
that,
like
we were both kind of good about realizing that, okay, this doesn't work, or I don't find this funny. And also what was very good is that we would fight our corner and fight for that joke, or fight for that character, or fight for that plot line, or whatever it was, to stay in. And only when later on down the line it didn't work, then we would be like, okay, cool, fine, but we gave it a shot.
I think it's also the luxury of being like first-time professional writers, in that like we don't have any bad baggage. Like at this point, we're like, you know, all this can change down the line. Who the hell knows?
And actually,
so
we went into that.
Yeah,
we went into this with that mindset of like,
that's true.
We're going to do it, and we're very, very aware that like somewhere down the line, some producer or someone is going to say that's fucking shit. We like the idea, but the writing needs to go out the window. We're going to start again.
So pretty loose about it all.
Yeah, and I think like because we're both or I definitely am very happy about what we have at the moment.
I am too.
It's also that thing of like, okay, well, someone might read this and be like, okay, great, but actually it's fucking terrible. And we're going to give you a team of writers and you're going to have to start from scratch. Right? Like, that's fine.
And that's not depressing because they say that about movies that get made. Big movies. It's subjective at the end of the day.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like, you got to be strong, and we don't take anything personally.
I know this is a very long-winded answer to your question, but just to kind of bring it back, it was the other thing that I noticed, strengths and weaknesses wise, was Duke gave me a script, a 15-page script right at the beginning, and I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have been able to sit down and write it. So my strength in that respect was to use that skeleton to then build on.
Yeah.
So I really like rewriting, and obviously like there's that whole cliche of like writing's rewriting and blah, 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 which is true. Yeah. But you were always very good at the writing part of it, the initial writing part of it. And then I would then take it and rewrite it, and then it would become and then it would be a collaborative process of like, okay, so I've taken what you wrote, half of it is now gone, and this is what I've done, and now it's your turn to take a stab at it, and we kind of go back and forth like that.
I'd love to hear from you why you like rewriting, because that's my least favorite part of the process. And I do know that writing is rewriting; it's absolutely essential. But you
are a big rewriter.
I'll tell you why, is because I like thinking about, so we have the script, we have these characters, we have this story. We didn't know the characters when we first started writing the show, right? It was just like, oh, it'd be really funny if we had someone who did this or said this, or someone who came in and was this person.
Okay.
And of course, the longer you are with these people, the more you get to know them, and the more you start pulling out references from people that you know, or things that have happened to you, and you pull from reality and you fictionalize it. Is the way that that we kind of like doing it. And so for me, the rewriting comes from the fact that I've been sitting with these people for now 3 years, and having an idea of who they are. And of course, like, okay, like I'll be at the pub with a friend and he'll say something that I think is really funny, and in my head, my reaction won't be, oh, I've got to tell my mates. My reaction will be, oh, that'd be really funny if actually we made that character more like him, because then it would so pulling from that then allows you to rewrite it. And of course you could do that ad infinitum, like you could rewrite and rewrite and and rewrite. But I think being able to write something and then leave it for like 3 weeks and not think about it and go off and do something else, and then come back to it and reread it and then go, oh no, actually no, that isn't as funny as I thought it was, or that doesn't work, or actually something has happened to me in these 3 weeks that I think would be really interesting to put into this person's storyline. Do you know what I mean? So
funny enough too, the thing that you're just like discussing, my dad considers like some of the most valuable filmmaking skills, and then also just business skills, being able to sit with something for time and come back to it and not give up.
I mean, the best,
knowing that
the best writing advice I've ever heard was Taika Waititi, who said that he writes a script, he puts it in a drawer, and he doesn't touch it for like a year. And then after, or like 3 months,
however
whatever
long,
it is. And then after those 3 months or whatever it is, he comes back and he doesn't pick up the script
for a decade,
but he rewrites from memory what he's got. And 9 times out of 10, he's got rid of all the fucking cannon fodder and the shit, and he's left with like the condensed,
the strong
stuff, and then he builds on it. And I thought that was really cool, because like he writes something, he gets it out of his head onto paper, and then he has the freedom to be, I'm speaking for him, I don't know if this is what he thinks,
or what I got.
But he then has the freedom to be able to be like, okay, cool, well, it's out of my head, it's on paper, now I can get into it.
And also, isn't it funny within that time too? I assume maybe he's talking about it. He's brainstorming. And a lot of times when you talk about something after, you bring in the most important, most interesting stuff, because you're working hard to remember, what did I like about that? What did I like about it? To tell this other person. So you end up coming up with the most interesting stuff that comes out. and then it's like, oh, well, maybe that was the stuff that should
Yeah.
stay in.
And I think also, like, you know, I watch a lot of TV, and so there'll be a show that I watch, and a character trait or a funny line or something that gets me thinking about our characters, and maybe if we can sort of steal, I guess steal something from something that we've already seen and kind of take it that direction.
I do that for acting, performances too, everything. If you can take from it and like channel it and stuff.
And so that's why I like rewriting, because I guess the hard part of actually getting it down on paper to begin with is out the way, and then you can get into like the nitty-gritty of it.
That's something incredibly practical, what you just said, as far as I know, it was like Taika's, you know, methodology, but being able to put something away, bring it out, not even look at it, but write from memory. That's something that I
don't do that.
For sure. But even just like hearing that approach, I think could be incredibly useful. I think that takes a lot of patience and belief in one singular idea. And you saying that you stuck with this concept, you guys have been working on this, collabing on it for like 3 years now. I like started taking filmmaking seriously for like the past 3 years. So that to me feels like a really fucking long time. And to actually be able to stick with one idea, I think is really impressive. And I think ultimately it's beneficial.
Well, you were just writing before the pandemic, or?
Yeah. I was writing a little bit, but even so, it's like I just wasn't really taking it seriously. It was about like 3 years ago that I was like, want to start making shorts consistently, putting stuff out.
I mean, the thing is about this is that, like, okay, yeah, there was also a global pandemic in the middle of it, you know, so it's not like there was a huge amount of work that we could have been getting on with. Like, we had the luxury of time, basically, but also, you know, we both got other jobs in that 3-year period, and we were off. Like, I was off shooting for 2 months in the Czech Republic. Duke was shooting for some Netflix thing, and
3 days. Thank you.
No, but we had other stuff to be doing for our sort of a career, if you like.
Tons of stuff.
And this was very much the B line, but it was also something that we were keen to keep going.
Push.
So to be able to have,
we want to make it our A line.
We want to make it our A line, but for us to be able to like go off and do filming for however long and not touch the script, but know that when we finish, we are going to go back.
Right. Is this your first time that you've kind of done the tour of that? You come to LA, you're kind of doing the water bottle tour, sitting down with people pitching, or do you have experience pitching stuff?
No, not for writing. I mean, this is the first time I've come to LA with like meetings in mind and people to see. I mean, I thought that's what the last time I was out here was for, and then COVID happened. But no, this is the first time that we're doing that. So again, it's also like a very big learning curve for us, for me, because I think even if nothing comes from it, at least I'll have the experience of being able to say, like, you know, I've done this for this person, and they can go away, but I now know what to do next time.
Have you guys rehearsed a pitch together, or are you kind of going in loose?
We're actually doing this tonight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
After this, we're just gonna go over.
We're gonna go through everything. Yeah. I think for me, the most important thing is for us to not be sort of bit businessy about it.
Yeah. I'm glad you say that.
Yeah, I think I think half of the battle is making them like us as people.
It is.
You know, and because that's the nature of the show, is it's an American going to England and being surrounded by Brits and having this sort of Ted Lasso fish out of water life, that they need to like us because we are two people who have actually lived this experience. And drama school, 100%. There hasn't been a TV show about drama school ever.
Yeah.
And so unless you've been, you don't really know what's going on.
Right.
So we then need to be able to paint a picture to these people who may or may not have been, that this is what it's like, and actually that it is an interesting world to dive into, even if you're not an actor and even if you haven't been to drama school. I think it's an important thing for. I feel like he's naturally a good business person. Like you're good at well, and it might not be, when business is a very broad term, but like I mean in the sense of like just painting a picture for people, getting them informed on what they might be investing in or what it might be or whatever. And with that said, I've gotten
pitching experience just with my Valley mentality for a while
that's
now.
the other thing, yeah.
For starters, Duke of the Valley. I've been freaking crushing pitching that, because you're like, it's not necessarily a meeting with executives, but you're pitching it. And then
you're so fucking Californian. Yeah. Sorry. Fucking crushing the pitch, bro.
You gotta just crush, go in head first and crush. That's what we're gonna do tomorrow. Yeah. And then I've also gone into pitch meetings with my dad, and my dad has had experience like making movies, et cetera, and stuff. And seeing how he does it, it's fun. It's kind of obvious. It's fun. You get stuff out of the way at the beginning, like you genuinely get to know the people and everything. You want to have that trust, but then there's a fun thing to obviously being direct about what you're doing and letting them know that you're not just like wishy-washy about your idea. But I think some of that inspiration comes from being genuinely excited about it, and we kind of complement each other well.
I think also we have to trust in the idea, which we obviously do.
Yeah, so I have fun just talking about it. So, that's it.
Yeah, I think trusting, a lot of time with pitching, it's like the energy you bring to the room is so essential, and I think keying into both the fact that you love this idea, you're excited by this idea, but also I think what you brought up as far as like you have this experience that no one else has really had, and like having that confidence of like, we are the only people that can tell this story. I think that's key.
The same thing with value mentality. Like the distinction is in what we see out of it. And sometimes that doesn't immediately come to your mind when you're telling people about stuff, but like, with value mentality, I tell people that it's like, it's the mentality. It's not just the Valley. It's the idea of that, like, hey, these blue collar film people that aren't the movie stars still need some love. They've never gotten any love in the Valley. With this, it's like, we've never seen drama school, and it is different than you would expect.
It is. And also I think like a huge part of it is that this is something that we have both experienced. It's something that it's not like we're just we have to do like shitloads of research. It's something that we have both lived and spent a lot of time in, and are surrounded by people. I mean, I am anyway in England, surrounded by people who have had those same experiences.
Yeah.
And for me, what's really interesting is that anyone who's been to drama school will hopefully watch this and relate to it, because there's all this kind of weird shit that they made you do.
Be happy they're not in it anymore.
And be happy that they're not in it anymore.
Like, to laugh at it, take the piss.
To have on the other side of it, people who don't know about this experience, interested and intrigued by, these cliche things that happen at drama school, like be a color or be an actor.
Ride around on the ground.
Right, exactly. I mean, there's the story that when I was at drama school, a girl was in some class and she started having a breakdown, and she went to the teacher. She's like, I'm having a breakdown. Do you mind if I go to the bathroom to sort of sort myself out? And the teacher went, no, darling, you're having a breakthrough.
My audience member too that I like, part of why I thought it was so interesting is because you look at someone that'll look at all the actors that are on TV right now and say, oh, wait, that person is British in this American TV show. That person is British. Oh, wait, that person is British. And they're playing these key American figures. Why are they using Brits? Oh, it's because the acting is sometimes better. And it's a lot of times because of the training. And that's what I was told. That's why I went over there. And Jacob seen me talk about this with Eddie and stuff too. You guys are always reluctant to accept that, the Brits, but because they're sick of themselves.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
I don't necessarily think it's true since I've seen it.
But it is what we all believe. It's definitely like a real thing.
But see, this
so milk that.
Okay.
As long as you know it's not true, but like know that is the angle that executives might be coming from.
No, I'm sure.
That'll only help you guys.
Sorry?
That'll only help you guys. The fact that you're trained.
If you can have it help you.
It's just funny to hear that, because that's not what we feel as
right.
The idea is that in America, anyone can get off a train and become discovered and get discovered on Hollywood Boulevard. Whereas in England, if you're going to go through the trouble to become an actor, you have to get classically trained and versed in Shakespeare.
Not anymore.
And that makes it's not anymore. But hear me out. The idea is still deep in the industry that you have to pay your dues in England much harder to become a professionally trained actor. And even if you're just going to do a measly play, you're still going to be better than some douche that was a model that became a big actor. I'm not saying that is the reality. I'm saying that is the narrative. And that's why people are going to fucking like this show, is because they're going to see that behind all that, the professionals that are thespians that are doing the theater are a bunch of degenerate pricks in the best possible way. And the whole message is do not take yourself too seriously. That maybe have compassion for the people who come to Hollywood that are models that get off the train that become Leonardo DiCaprio, and have compassion for the people in England that are also professional thespians that are degenerates and don't care, or people that are just theater nerds, et cetera, et cetera. But we got I know I keep coming back to that, but anyway, I think people will see that and be like, oh, Ian McKellen loved to like rage and like have fun like with anyone else. Orlando Bloom, like who's like Lord of the Rings and went to whatever Guildhall, like fell off the ceiling of the drama school partying like his senior year and almost missed doing Lord of the Rings. Like heck yeah. If we can just relay that to people, again, same thing as value mentality, bringing the horses to the water. Like if got in the hands of someone who's like a comedy person here, something that's like, whoa, I think that subject matter actually is different and really insightful.
This is why I love LA though, because if you know one person who knows somebody else, immediately they'll be like, yeah, cool, I'll connect you and like go.
It's just like we were talking about with Louis, our last call. Basically, he was in this room full of like he knew one guy who like knew the head of
the
Academy, Principato, Principato Young, and they just linked it up and they were able to make shit happen. It is how it works, So you never know. You never know the types of people that they're going to be connected to.
You know what I thought though when he did say that? Choose your product wisely. Which it's not easy for us to do with not being an environmentalist. He's doing a subject matter that is so noble, but it also happens to be the trendiest thing you could possibly do. Every studio wants to do something that is a good cause.
It's super important and super.
And it was shot in a way that's super fucking engaging, and like he knew he had a really good understanding of structure and whatever what keeps people interested. But
yeah, he's and honestly, we were saying my takeaway from the interview with him is that more than technique, more than formula, anything, the guy is so excited about his subject matter, and that comes through.
It's infectious. There's a guy, David S. Sandberg. He's this horror filmmaker. He makes great films, but he even like self-admittedly, he's not the best in the room when he's pitching something. And he didn't name any names, but he said that there's one guy in particular in horror who he doesn't think makes great films. It's kind of widely agreed doesn't make the best films, but he's a great fucking pitcher. And if you can be in the room and you're just really great at the pitch, like you're leaps and bounds from a lot of people.
There's a brilliant one that I heard about. Do you know who Michaela Cole is?
I've heard the name.
So she's a British actress writer. She did fucking
stupid.
No. She's like fucking insane. Give me 2 seconds. I May Destroy You. She did I May Destroy You. Yeah. She's fucking sick. Anyway, she said that she always, whenever she's pitching something, she always plays the stupidest person in the room. And what she meant by that was that people are going to throw sort of like complicated lingo at you and all this sort of film speak. And she always just says, can you explain that? Can you explain that? Can you dumb that down for me? Can you say that in layman's terms? Can you
kind of like
because it means that it's boiled down to the actual essence of what they're saying, rather than being like, oh, I'm gonna do this, that, and the other.
Because you get sidetracked a lot.
Yeah, she's like, just I don't understand what you mean. Can you
I like in interviews being the person that doesn't know the interviewer person. Sometimes, like if Jacob brings in someone, I like being the guy that's like thinking like the audience members there. I like asking the questions that are more broad and like, well, actually this,
helps ground it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's I totally get that. And like also there's like a purity that comes through with that like you're not here just for the business. You're here to, telling stories at the end of the day is super simple. So if you can come back to what makes something entertaining and interesting.
I think telling stories is simple.
Well, we can go on for a while about that.
It depends.
Complex, for sure. It's simple yet complex. There's a lot of different aspects to it. What makes a good story? Engagement. Something that's engaging. Makes you want to know what happens next.
I like what you guys said too about you thought about what's funny to you, and that's key. Because for me, when I'm making something horror, I'm not thinking about what's scary to everyone. It's like, what's the scariest shit to me? And then that usually translates way better because it's so deeply personal and just tied to how you feel.
Well,
and then
exactly.
You're able to put that out there.
And there's got to be some element of your own personality in the writing, because you know, we think that we have these experiences and these thoughts that are only to ourselves, but actually there's a high likelihood and high probability that fucking hundreds of thousands of people have that same process. So to write what, I mean, also there's that whole classic thing of like, write what you know.
Yeah.
But I think that's super important, is that we're writing what we know, we're writing what we think is funny, because yeah, there's probably a couple of people out there who think what we find funny is also funny. But you have to put a bit of yourself in there and write characters that you can relate to, because if you can't relate to them, then what's the point of writing them?
And obviously it's funny that this debate goes back and forth over the years too, because at the end of the day, like the stuff that we like is influenced by who we looked up to growing up.
Yeah.
Or stuff, you know, so it's like, and it's very flexible. At the end of the day, we're all just trying to make the best product, and that could input so many other things. I real quick want to ask as well to Dimitri. So this is Hollywood beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
We like to find out like what inspires creatives, how they got started or whatever. What were first of all, I want to say what were some of your first inspirations into the creative world, and when you decided that you wanted to take it professionally, and then what have been some of your best moments now, just, you know, off the top of your head, no pressure, but like if anything comes to mind.
So hang on, start again. So what inspired me, or like what
I think what the big thing, because he's someone that has been kind of acting since you were a kid and stage and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird. I remember wanting to be an actor kind of young. I was always that annoying kid that made the family like sit down and watch my shows and fucking perform, and it was all like, look at me, look at me, look at me. But I went to an all boys school up until I was about 13. And so all of the plays, I played all of the girls.
You actually did that. I thought that was a joke in England. Hugh Grant says the same thing.
Yeah, so I played the girls, and that meant that like from sort of 10 to 12, I played like the bigger parts because they were the girl parts, but I was younger. So I then played my first male part when I was 13. And I always had the bug. And I remember asking to my parents, young, can I have an agent? And they went, not until you finish school, like proper, not until you finish high school kind of thing. And thank God, because like, it was, but like there were a couple of kids at my school when I was young who were child actors. And so one guy missed a couple of months to shoot a movie, and another guy was off doing stuff. And I remember being really jealous of them, like really intensely jealous.
Cool.
And now I don't think they're actually acting anymore. And I went to high school, and then I went to drama school, and now I'm doing that. But I remember always wanting to be an actor. And I kind of, when I went to high school, I kind of very quickly realized that I wasn't going to go down the college route and the office job, corporate life. I know I wanted to do something creative. And so I kind of geared everything towards that. And I did music. And then obviously I ended up doing dance when I was at drama school. But yeah, it was kind of like from roughly about 6, when I kind of knew that that's
fascinating.
Which is like, it's a double-edged sword, because I was lucky in the sense that I knew what I wanted to do, but I also kind of very quickly married myself to this very unstable career, and I'm now kind of running with it.
Yeah, like you seem so well adjusted, and like a lot of your friends, like Stu's friends, aren't actors.
Yeah, but I mean, don't get me wrong. It's when this job is bad, it's the fucking worst, and when it's good, it's the greatest.
Yeah.
So like I'm fucking depressed half the time, and I'm like anxious about when the next job is going to come, and like it's rough, and I've done those shitty jobs. I worked in a pub. I sold flowers on the streets. I was waiter for God knows how long to like actual famous people, like doing events and shit like that. And like I knew that that's not what I wanted to do full time. So yeah, and then in terms of like what inspires me,
I want to hear like some of your great experiences as well, like acting. Yeah.
Great experiences acting. God. Okay, so the first day on set of Dangerous Liaisons, I learned more on that one day than I did in 3 years at drama school.
Dude,
which is kind of insane. Well, no, just to, like, first of all, I love acting, but I also love everything around it. Like, I love being on set. I think sets are fucking cool.
Making something cool.
Yeah, but also just like the fact that everybody is there to make this thing.
I totally agree.
And as an actor, you're kind of like the smallest cog in the biggest machine, because your job is literally to turn up in clothes that aren't yours and pretend to be somebody else, and then you go home.
By the way, with something like Dangerous Liaisons, that's like a coveted text, like a classical piece.
No, it was a prequel. It was a prequel.
So regardless, that is interesting. But just the copyright, just the fact that they're working with something that's that renowned and stuff, meaning the production value is going to be so big. You're working with such talented people. When you get on, you're like, not only do you feel like you've made it in a way, but you're like, whoa, I have a lot to learn here.
Yeah, I mean, so because like I was on set with some older actors who were kind of like very laid back about the whole thing, and they were very fucking good, but like obviously I was green and very nervous. But like you realize very early on that there's a reason why these guys are still acting at the age that they are, is because it's a job. Like it's a job. As much as it's like what they love, it is a job. It's their livelihood.
They leave,
and so
they also know how to leave that as well and have a normal life outside of it, right?
And so it was kind of amazing. And then to like, it was my first time doing on like a big set. I'd done short movies and things like that before, but it was the first time that I was on like a proper
network
thing.
Yeah.
So to have all of these like cameras and these insane costumes, and like we shot the whole thing on location. None of it was on a soundstage. So like to be in these like castles and shit and have like candles everywhere and roaring fires and real food, and you're wearing period costume and you've got like the wig on, like it's kind of amazing.
That's a dream.
And and actually it makes your job really easy in a weird way, because everything is
fun.
Yeah, somebody on that job said to me, it's the closest thing you can get to time traveling.
Yeah.
Because you're wearing these clothes of the time, you're saying these words of the time in a castle of the time, made to look like it is the time.
And you're literally doing an impression of that time.
Right. And the only difference is that you've got a guy pointing a camera at your face. And so actually it's really easy to be able to get into that headspace. Because there are 500 other people who are fucking good at their jobs, who have made sure that your job is the easiest job. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. I've heard from actors before that, especially putting on the costume is a huge transformative thing.
It helps. And like we were in heels and like wearing wigs that are super itchy, and then like you're hot and you're uncomfortable, and actually it adds to the whole experience. And even though, I mean, actors love to fucking complain. I complain all the fucking time. But I was happy every day on set. Even if I didn't realize that I was super happy, looking back on it, I was like, I was being paid to do what I fucking loved. And I was doing it in a really cool place, wearing these fucking cool costumes with these phenomenal people, not just the actors, like the whole crew were insane. Everybody knew what they were doing. Everybody was brilliant at what they did. And so it makes your life so much easier. And so that was a really cool experience, to be able to just like walk on set and be like, oh, cool, like I could get used to this. I love this.
That's exactly how I felt on the Netflix set.
Yeah, and like it's you really feel like it sounds really naff, but like you kind of feel like you're home in a weird way. Like you feel very like at ease, and like, okay, it's stressful, it's a stressful job, but like you're essentially playing dress up.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a lot of fun. So that was a really cool experience. And then the other really cool experience that I had, like I just did a movie in Greece where I was playing the lead, and we were shooting all night shoots for like a month, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. basically every day.
Did not know that.
Which is great. But what was really cool is that I got to like help write the movie and like do lots of, I say write the movie, I got to help rewrite lots of the movie. And so to be able to be in a sort of super collaborative environment was really helpful also for the TV show that we're writing, because it gave me an opportunity to, like the director would say, I don't think the scene is working, do you want to have a stab at it? And I'd be like, yeah, cool. So I would rewrite something, he'd be happy with it, the actors would be happy with it. And then all of a sudden I've got like 5 actors and a whole crew saying and filming these lines that I've written, and it working. And so like in a purely selfish self-affirmation way, it was really cool to be like, oh no, okay, you can do this. Like it does work.
It made the whole process very clear.
Yeah, not even clear. It was just like, it was very comforting to know that like I'm doing something right, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like this
working.
job is so like up and down, and there was a lot of self-doubt in it, for me anyway, that to have those small moments of, oh, okay, great, like reassurance is super like helpful and calming in a way, because and reassuring. So that was also a really cool experience. And then like my first professional job was wicked, like doing a play in a professional theatre in the UK with like some really cool actors and cool crew was sick. So that was awesome. I'm trying to think.
That feeling that you're home that you're describing is, I think that's how you know you're in the right spot. That's how you know that you're doing the thing that you were called to do.
That's what I come back to too. Yeah.
And it is the hardest thing in the world. It is the most unpredictable fucking career that you can choose. But ultimately, I feel like that kind of makes it even more worth it too. I mean, it's really fucking hard when you're in it, but as far as looking back, once you get to a certain point of that you've always dreamed of, you're doing the thing you want, you can actually look at how hard it was and realize you actually persevered through all that shit to get to where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like when that feeling that you get when you get a job is kind of second to none. I think the only feeling close to that or on par with that would be that kind of first moment you step on stage in a theatre, in a full theatre, because that is like different gravy. Because you have this like energy
totally
don't get on a film set as much.
May I say, to combat that as well, because I've shot a lot of stuff at this point, but the Netflix thing, when there's these people that it's pretty cool. I grew up watching and stuff, and you're doing it, you're in the zone, you practice, you have nothing to go wrong, and then you rip it and it starts going and it's getting good, and now you're feeling creative and it's easy, you're getting huge laughs, you're bringing this thing to life and stuff, and you're just thinking like, maybe I am good at this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think if like, I mean, I love
and it's gonna be on TV, everyone's gonna see it.
Well, that's the other thing.
It's like I don't even think it's necessarily vain. I just think it's a really cool human experience.
It's really fucking cool.
The thing that I struggle with about it is that, like, okay, so I got the Dangerous Liaisons gig, and that was amazing, and that was kind of all I'd ever wanted, was to be on TV and to act and with these amazing people and to like, do this amazing show. And then it finished, and I was kind of like, and then I kind of just went, maybe that was a fluke. Maybe I just got that job because I was the person that they needed, and like that's not going to happen again. And so then that's when the bad side of the job sinks in, is that anxiety of, I don't know if I'm going to get another job now, and of course the minute you start spiraling there, you give off this air of, I guess, like desperation and so that's
part of it, and you got to learn how to navigate.
It's crazy how the human brain works, though. That's not you, even. That's just like, it's part of the human experience of you're trying to do this thing. And it's crazy how, and in the moment too, I'm sure it feels like, yeah, this is me. Like it was a fluke or whatever. You start to have that self-doubt coming in. But like at the end of the day, everyone in that position would feel that to a degree.
And isn't it funny? Like you feel like once you arrive at that thing, I had the same thing. I was like, okay, no, now I definitely arrived, and I'm not gonna have any negative thoughts after this. Like I'm gonna feel like I'm so accepted. And you go back and like you start to judge even worse, that like, oh, why do I not feel worthy in this now? Why do I not feel worthy? But now I'm fortunately much better than I've ever been at navigating the lows better.
Yeah, I think, I mean, advice that people have given me is just like, you know what, do the job, and then compartmentalize that. And that was that experience, and you learned a lot, and you had a great time, or you had a terrible time, or you met some great people, or you met some shit people. That's fine. That was that period. Now you've got to.
Doesn't mean everything's gonna be. It feels like everything's gonna be perfect. It feels like that's the life-changing thing, the life-changing piece that you needed to fall into place for everything to be different. But it's like then you go back. The point is, I think, and this is the self-help stuff we talk about all the time. Write out the lows well, write out the highs well. When everyone's praising you, even when you get an Academy Award, whatever, that stuff goes away too. And you have to be good at knowing that you're not any better when that stuff happens. You would appreciate the praise, appreciate the claps and stuff, but know that at the end of the day, you got to work harder to stay grounded when you're big. Know that you're no better than another human being. Like you gotta give everyone their honor. And then when the bad stuff's happening, get good at knowing that that's not you either, and that you got to stay at peace with all of it. It's really, this is to the life stuff. Life could be over tomorrow. We're only just got to appreciate things, think for your health, try to help other people. And this is all freaking gravy, dude. It's great to have goals, but it's all gravy.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel like it's always going to be like this.
Yeah.
And the reality is it's like this, you're just like going all over the place. And at the end of the day, like we also want to have some measure of control. And I can only speak for myself, but like, I'm like, I would love
better. Things get generally better, like sorry to interrupt.
But you'd love to what?
I would love to know exactly, or I would love to be able to navigate my career and like be like, oh yeah, this piece will fall into play, and then that'll open up this thing. And that's how a lot of us feel about the whole thing. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to accept the things that you can't control, and you're just kind of on this crazy fucking ride, and then focus in, hone in on things that you actually have some measure of control over.
For sure. I'm trying to think if I have any other like inspiration moments.
What's the next thing for you apart from this pitch? What are you
how's acting
of career-wise?
Acting, I mean, fine. I think it's such a cyclical industry that like you kind of never really know unless you know. Like, unless you have something immediately lined up, then it's anybody's guess. I mean, my main thing at the moment is trying to get rep out here.
Great.
To tie in tandem with back in London. Eventually I'd like to move out here. But I've just got to put out the feelers and see what I can get. And kind of just try and make sure that the first job wasn't a fluke.
So you're kind of having more of a focus on the TV film stuff, because stage presence obviously isn't as crazy, especially in LA.
I mean, so for me at the moment, because I trained in theatre, specifically musical theatre, and then my first sort of three jobs were theatre jobs. I was like, cool, okay, I've loved it. I've had an amazing experience. I now want to see if I can bridge that gap and go into film and TV, because I will always be able to go back to theatre. I feel like if I've trained in theatre, and I used to go to the theatre a lot growing up, not so much since COVID, but like it's somewhere in there. Whereas film and TV is something that I very much got to learn, and you can only really learn that by being on set and by being with people who are better at it than you are. And so I think, listen, if a theatre job comes up, I'm going to do the theatre job for sure. The thing is that in England, most of the West End stuff is musicals, and those contracts are like a year. And so to be out of the game for like a year doing one show is pretty gnarly.
It is.
Like in an ideal world, I'd love to do like a musical for 3 months, and then maybe go into a play for 3 months, and then go off and do a movie or what. I mean, like obviously that's an ideal, but
there's a lot of cool stage jobs at like these prestigious little theaters, like off West End. West End is the Broadway of London, and there's like the Almeida Theater, the Donmar Warehouse, National Theater.
Both my theater jobs,
where like a lot of film actors will go. They literally just like kind of want like celebrities at this point that are good actors to do those jobs.
That's a whole different conversation.
But
both my theatre jobs were actually outside of London. In one was in a like super fancy, reputable theatre called the Royal Exchange in Manchester, and then the other one was in a much smaller fringe theatre, still brilliant, called the Hope Mill, both in Manchester. So I actually spent weirdly quite a lot of time in Manchester, and so I like regional theatre is amazing in the UK. Sorry, it just means that you kind of have to be willing to
chalk up some time
and to kind of move away for a bit. So I feel like I've done a bit of that, and I've done the fringe, and I've done that side of, the sort of five shows a day for 3 weeks, no money, dead to the world, all that kind of stuff. Now I'd like to be able to do a show in London for like 2-3 months. I mean, ideally it'd be TV and film, but beggars can't be choosers.
Have you found the biggest difference between stage and TV film stuff is the subtlety of behavior, or are there any other things?
I mean, it's definitely bigger on stage. I mean, you're kind of taught, or I was anyway, you've got to perform to three people. You've got to perform for the blind man, the deaf man, and the dumb man. So everything's got to be big, loud, clear, yada, yada, yada. But it's obviously got to be seeped in truth and all that kind of stuff. I find that because of the theatre, because of the training that you get in the UK, it's obviously much more geared towards theatre. So I find that an easier thing to tap into. And the TV jobs that I've had, less so on Dangerous Liaisons, more so on the movie that I did, because I had more screen time, that I was having to rein it in and to actually, like, the best piece of advice I got about screen acting was you've got to have an inner monologue at all times. You've got to have the thought process of the character.
Yeah.
So if there's a monologue that you've got to perform, you've then got to write exactly what the character is thinking and almost sort of like learn two monologues, one that you're thinking, one that you're saying, so that there's something going on behind your eyes. Because you could just say a speech to camera and you're dead behind the eyes and nobody's going to be engaged with it. Right. It's not a real person.
That was exactly what I learned. Thank God for 2 years of John Rose.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Hugh, by the way, another side note, Hugh Grant says, like, he gave a great example in that show that I mentioned to you, Anatomy of a Scandal. Yeah, he was in Anatomy of a Scandal.
Very English Scandal.
No, he was in that one too. He was in both Scandal shows. Wait, he wasn't in Anatomy of a Scandal. It was the HBO show that Hugh Grant did
with
where
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah. Where he plays this like kind of like privileged guy that gets into trouble, whatever. There's this whole monologue that the other person has on the stand in a courtroom, and I think it's Nicole Kidman. And he says, "Hey, when the camera comes to me, I can't just be spacing out because I'm not talking. I have to literally." What he does is he writes down what the character would be thinking in that moment every time. And an obvious way to do that is like if you do have lines, cover up what the next line is going to be saying. Like, what do I guess as the actor what that character would say next, and use as possible options, and then you have to try to think. Now, on the day of, and I learned this by acting law experience, is try 100 different things. Sometimes you'll be thinking nothing and it will come off amazing. And sometimes you'll be literally feeling it. You'll be thinking the actual character's thoughts just naturally and it'll come easy. And still nothing will be playing. And then sometimes you just try a thought and it'll actually infuse how you say the line. And but in real life, we're always thinking things anyway. We'll be saying like, I love that thing, it's so great, but inside I'm thinking like, no, that was the biggest piece of shit ever. I gotta really prove this. That was so great. And that affects how you say it. And so same exact
but
thing.
I think that's, for me, that was the big difference, is that you've always got to have something going on inside your head. I mean, and you do in theater as well, but like it's much, you can't hide as much on camera. So that was a big learning curve, because I kind of had to disregard 3 years of theatre training and almost sort of retrain for camera.
I wish theater did that more. I saw Ralph Fiennes in a play at the Old Vic Theater, and he was even like, and it could have been an off night, but he was just going through the motions. It was like a dance choreography rather than, I wanted to see that story actually feel like it was happening for the first time every time.
But see, that's why I think I learned more on that first day in Dangerous Liaisons than I did at drama school, is because I was with these actors that had done everything: theatre, musical theatre, film, TV, and they knew what they were doing. So even just to like watch them and take what worked for me and disregard what didn't, and kind of run with that. And so that's what I strive to do. And on the movie that I did, that was kind of the biggest help, because I knew that for whatever reason I was on camera a lot, and so like the close-ups and all that kind of stuff, I really had to make sure that I was sustaining those thoughts and keeping it fresh and making sure that I wasn't going through the motions and all that kind of stuff. And
in that moment,
and also that's partly why I love film sets, is because, you know, I speak to the camera department, and I like, you've got, so one guy on Dangerous Liaisons said the best, he's an actor called Christian. He said the best thing I ever did was learn about the lenses, so that when they say, right, we're going on an East do, or a mid shot, or a master, or whatever, I can tailor my performance to make sure that I'm A, not burning out, and B, I know where the camera is going to be, so I know how much to put into it. So that was really cool about being on the movie, is that I started that journey of learning about lenses and about like camera placement. And if it's not on me, then I don't need to like give everything, but I still need to be engaged for the other actor to be able to have something to act off of and all that kind of stuff.
I heard even Jack Nicholson, when he was on his films, when the camera wasn't on him, he would still stay there as an actor.
I've told you that story. I'm not sure if Dimitri.
I know this way. Which one?
From A Few Good Men. Rob Reiner, the director. I'll just say it real quick. When Jack Nicholson gives a speech of "You can't handle the truth," he was doing it when he was off camera 5 times in a row, just balling out, and Rob Reiner goes, "Hey, Jack, down, man. Maybe save a little for when it comes on you." And he just goes, Rob, I love acting.
Yeah,
it's such a privilege when I get to play a great part. And so,
this is the thing, because I always make a point of staying there, even when the camera's not on me, because it's like I would expect somebody to do that for me.
For sure.
You know, I think it's.
I've never had it where they went away and they had like a reader. That would kind of suck.
I've caught myself when
not giving it all,
not giving enough, switching off,
and
then like I apologized to one of the actors, and I was like, I'm really sorry, that was actually not great of me. And he was like, no, it's cool, fine, you've learned your lesson. Like, no, but like, he was cool about it, but like he was like, yeah, you weren't giving what you should have been giving. And it was like, cool, okay, noted. So I've then made a point now of kind of always giving them as much as I would expect them to give me.
You kind of learn that, like, what you would want, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard stories about actors, and I won't name names because they are well known.
Famous people,
who have been doing shows or movies, and they've been doing a scene with somebody who isn't well known, and when the camera's on them, the famous person will go walk about on set, or just like turn around and start doing stuff, and it's like, no, come on, man, that's not. That's not.
Why are you getting paid? Yeah, you got to get paid.
Anyway,
you got to do your job.
What's the best and the worst thing a filmmaker could do with an actor? How like, what kind of director do you like working with the most, and what kind would you hate working with?
That's really tricky. I like directors. I mean, you've got to bear in mind, I haven't worked with that many. But some of the directors,
even hypothetically, like, what are you?
Hypothetically, somebody that like believes in it as much as you do, but also gives you the creative freedom to be able to do what you think is right for the character. So the movie that I did, I loved the director. I thought he was brilliant. But there were moments where it was kind of like, you know what? I've been sitting with this character for ages, and you've got 10 million other things to do. Can you trust me to make a decision that I think is right? And if you disagree with it, fine, tell me, but let me do it first. Right. And he was really cool about that, because that then meant that we had that relationship where it was like, okay, I'm going to try it now.
Collaboration.
And like, he'd come up to me at the end and be like, okay, yeah, great, we've got that, now do what I want. And even if you disagree with it, then we have 2 to choose from. So that was really cool. I think, just somebody who, listen, it's different. If Scorsese tells me to do something, I'm gonna fucking do it, and I'm not gonna ask questions. Same with Tarantino, but like, you know, the likelihood of me working with those people is very low at the moment. So I think people like that would be fucking awesome and like the apex of it. But I don't think there's any director that I've worked with that I haven't enjoyed working with. Everybody has their own different process. You know, I mean, the Dangerous Liaisons gig, we had 2 directors, one that did 4 episodes, the other one that did the second set of episodes. And they both worked in very different ways. And so I got very used to the way that the first director worked, and I thought she was brilliant. And then I had to rewire my brain to be able to then work with the second director, who was equally as brilliant. But it was just that shift in mentality when I was on set of like, okay, well, he's not going to give me the same thing that she gave me, and vice versa. So I've then got to tailor my expectations of like, okay, maybe this director isn't the kind of person that will like give you affirmation between every take and say that was brilliant. Maybe that director's actually just going to let you get on with it and only say something if they don't like what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, so for you to have to be able to change, and that's your job as an actor as well, to just like get on with it.
Yeah.
And if you have a question, ask the question. But if you're not going to get anything back from it, fine, because you've got to trust that they will do their job to the highest degree, and they will then tell you when something isn't working.
Something.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
no, I just feel like directors and actors are always feeling each other out too on sets and stuff.
100%, 100%.
Cool that you had that long. Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
There's a whole spectrum of actors that you can work with. But something that I've had to learn is like it is my job to have 50% of my attention and focus on the shots, and then 50% of my attention and focus on bringing an actor through emotionally, being able to talk to them in a certain way where it's like they're making that discovery, they still feel freed up enough to do their own process. They can know that I trust them as far as like taking on the character stuff. But it's definitely been a learning curve for me, because most of the time my attention and all my focus is on shots, as opposed to like, okay, let me actually take time. Even if it's like 60%, it's still, I've learned it's still too much. It's still just as essential to be able to take the time and actually sit down with an actor and go through it. But I just want to say, I mean, because I started out as an actor too, and something that I had to learn is a lot of time a filmmaker is not, I mean, when you're an actor, it's really difficult because you're the person who's on screen. You're naked emotionally in front of all of these cameras and all these people, all this crew. But at the end of the day, you know, if you don't get an affirmation or something, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you. It could just be, because the director's thinking about a shot.
Yeah. I had that one Lifetime director, and he's great. I've done 2 movies with him now, and the second movie's about to come out. But I went up to him on the first one, just a little self-conscious. It was my first big part. Mm-hmm. And I had a big scene the first day, and I like went up. He didn't really say much, so I went up to him and in private and was like, "Hey, by the way," and I've been told like not to ask them. If they didn't say anything, it's fine. But I'm like, it was cool, right? It was fine. And he goes, "Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?" Oh, that scene. Oh yeah, dude, that was fantastic. He goes, "Let me tell you something, Duke. In general, acting just not worth worrying about." He's like for you too. He's like, literally just like, you know, do your homework, come in and like just don't give it a second thought, because it's like it's gonna work out.
Yeah, I think you've got to trust the director. You've got to trust that the director is good enough at their job to be able to basically say like, that worked, that didn't work.
Well, here's the thing, though.
If nothing's coming, then just carry on.
And you're constantly evolving what your judgment and measurement is, because actually I've learned when doing a lot of scenes that director too, and he's fantastic, but he does have 25 different things to worry about sometimes. And especially in that, and like soap operas and Lifetime, you're doing one take and that's it. So you actually do have to make sure sometimes to have your actor brain going to be like, did I check off all the things that I needed to for that? You know,
time's running low. Is there one piece of advice that you would give for an actor who's just starting out?
Oh, fucking hell. I'm still starting out, so I don't know how good this advice would be. Be nice to everyone. That's kind of like somebody, not an actor, somebody once said to me, be friendly to everybody, don't be friends with everybody. Which I always kind of thought was kind of cool. But yeah, don't be a dick. It's kind of really that simple. Just be really nice to everybody and learn everybody's names. I know that's like really basic advice, but it's not easy. Like, be really nice to people. Don't be a dick on set. Learn everybody's name.
My advice is make your own stuff.
Make your own stuff as well. Yeah. But like I'm saying, just in terms of like to anybody that wants to become an actor, don't think that you are the most important person as an actor, because without the sound department, you're silent. Without the lighting department, you're not being seen. And without the camera, nothing fucking happens. Without the costumes, you're naked. So like, just be nice to everyone, learn everybody's name. Don't be a dick.
And there are always highs and lows in this industry. And if you're a dick to someone on your way down, people are going to.
I mean, very, very quick caveat before we finish, but like I've been told that people who go in for auditions the directors come out to the like people helping you in to sit down, like the assistants, they come out and say, what were they like? And they'll be like, Dick, really nice, really nice. And they hire the people based on that. So just be fucking nice to everyone. Don't be a wanker.
Damn, sometimes it's better to be like, people want to work with people who are nice as opposed to talented. You know, you can be the most talented person in the world, but if you're a dick, people don't want to work.
They're gonna hire the nice person.
Yeah. Hey man, great meeting you finally.
And you, man. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Yeah.
Good luck with this round of pitches.
Thanks, dude.
Thank you.
Yeah, hope to meet you in person sometime soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we got to do it.
Cool.
Thanks so much, guys.